Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giant football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, the two giant goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me, Rob. After this, a wild card weekend.
Wicka, wild card.
Do a little Wild West there, a little Will Smith.
Exactly. As we're currently watching, also while we record this, the Bucks are Will Smith and the Eagles are Chris Rock. Yeah, they're getting smacked so far. I'm enjoying watching this so far. It's very nice.
It's a good weekend to watch playoffs as a Giants or a Commanders fan.
It really is. So let's go over all the details going on here. So we want to give you guys the recap here, of course, of all the games so far this wild card weekend. We also have a lot of coaching news to go over there with you guys here. We've had a lot of interviews. We've had a lot of requests for interviews, a lot of declines for requests for interviews. We've had a lot of rumors of flying left and right here. There was a scandalous story by Pat Leonard today about Brian Daboll and him being a mean bully.
What a big old meanie pants.
So we're going to go over all that stuff with you guys today, along with going over all the games from this weekend here. So, yeah, we got to pack.
Buckle up. We're going for a ride.
Oh, yes. We're on the coaching carousel, as you can see by those who watching the video there. All right, so let's get into the positions here, position by position. Now, I will say this. I wouldn't be surprised as we going down these updates here that all of a sudden offensive coordinator becomes a position we have to start interviewing for. I'm just saying it might come up. I'm just saying. Just might. But right now it's not. So we start off with the running back coach here. So New Orleans Saints running back coach Joel Thomas interviewed Friday for the running back coach spot. He's been their running back coach for the last 9 seasons since surviving in New Orleans. Saints running backs have led the league with 148 TDs. In New Orleans, he also coached Alvin Kamara, 5-time Pro Bowler, averages 1,435 total yards per season, and Mark Ingram, who had 2 of his 3 career 1,000-yard seasons under Coach Thomas. Last year, I will say, though, was a horrible year for their rushing attack overall. And it's interesting the Saints are letting him interview as opposed to trying to keep him. And it makes you wonder if maybe they're thinking just time's up. I mean, that happens with coaches. We talk all the time with head coaches. Position coaches, the same thing. You last so long, and then eventually people get tired of hearing your stories. And you know, new spots to go to. That's life.
But at the end of the day, the whole New Orleans offense was a dumpster fire.
You know what, though? I would say yes and no, because they had, still had a good receiver. They still had, spurts of a passing attack. Their offensive line was very good in the pass rush. I'm not so sure.
The spurts of that offensive attack was also piggyback off of the when Kamara was healthy and when they were able to run the ball.
Kamara was healthy? When was this?
Exactly, yeah.
He's like never. Now, we also have another interview there, that same position. The Titans are allowing the Giants to interview Tony Dews for their running back coach vacancy. Tony was their tight end coach last year, but spent the prior 5 seasons as their running backs coach. And I'm looking for why that change happened, and I can't find it. I'm kind of curious. So if we have any Titans fans in the house, are watching or listening later on, feel free to pop that in the comments section, because I'm kind of curious of that part of it there. But again, spent the prior 5 seasons there in Tennessee as the running backs coach. His first season as RB coach was Derrick Henry's first 1,000-yard season. From 98 to 2017, he was also a position coach at the college ranks, helping develop defensive line, offensive line, defensive backs, tight ends, special teams, linebackers, wide receivers, punting, and running backs.
He gets himself around the offense.
He does, apparently. Whoa, that's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of hats here. But like I said, the biggest thing for me, question mark on him, is why did he change to tight ends coach? Like I said, I'm just curious. I don't think it would change my opinion of him necessarily. I mean, but I'm kind of curious. Listen, you have a rushed offense that produces one of the best running backs in modern history. I'm okay with that hire.
Yeah, and not for nothing, like King Henry last year wasn't his best year. And was it the trade or was it the coaching?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It's a very valid point. I mean, like I said, again, two people to that position that have a good history, that have a resume. You can go, okay, I can do it. I can see it. I can roll with it. I can rock with it. Now the big one coming here that everybody wants to talk about. Defensive coordinator. Oh, we have so many people involved in this one here. It's not even funny. So the big news is that everybody keeps talking about Antonio Pierce. He's a big guy for the Giants to want and blah, blah, blah. Even though nobody's from the Giants really has said that per se. Just a lot of people just guessing because of the fact that Antonio Pierce is a former Giant. In the end, though, I don't think that's going to happen because that's a valid point. But Pierce is probably the favorite to keep the head coaching job at the Raiders. On top of that, he's interviewing for the Titans and Falcons head coaching job as well. So I think chances are, if he becomes available as a DC, it won't be for quite a while because he's going to want a head coaching job, and who wouldn't? He'd be stupid not to want one.
Especially after what he did this past season, that's a smart move for him because you don't know if you're going to get the head coaching job opportunity again and or the money that comes with the head coaching job compared to a coordinator. So take it while you can get it.
Exactly. By the way, those watching the game, the Bucs just put another field goal up. They're up 16-3 on the Eagles here with 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. Anyway.
Well, my stream's slow.
Well, it happens. My stream is steady because I see a doctor if it slows down.
Peacock talk about streams. And you're
I'm on NFL Plus. I'm on NFL Plus, so
okay, there you
go. I have multiple options to watch every game usually.
Peacock was 45 seconds slow this weekend.
Oh, we're gonna get a conversation on Peacock too. Don't you worry. Yeah. That's been one of the big topics there. That's been one of the big topics.
Talk about your calling in the Peacock.
All the grandpas getting upset and yelling at people to get out their lawn. Anyway, next up, another rumored person that potentially might be a candidate here, but again, the Giants have never mentioned. Former Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier is interviewing, ironically enough, for the Raiders head coaching job. He has been rumored to be a potential candidate for the Giants DC job, though, purely because of the relationship with Daboll. What's interesting is this is the first time I've seen him mentioned as a candidate for anything just in general.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, he took this year off for health purposes and stepped down as DC from the Bills. It makes you go, okay, he wants to potentially coach again. So if he doesn't get a head coaching job, which I'll be very frank, I would be shocked if he got a head coaching job. But if he doesn't get one, this means he could be available as a DC. And again, being the relationship he has with Daboll, that could be a good fit potentially. Plus, let's be frank, he's not a bad coach, guys. He's really not. I don't, again, I'm not so sure I'd want him as a head coach. But I think as a defensive coordinator, I think he's a good option. All right. Next up, the Giants have interviewed Ravens defensive backs coach Dennard Wilson. Previously, he was a DB's coach and passing game coordinator for the Eagles the prior 2 seasons. Now, what's the biggest issue right now with the Eagles?
Oh, they can't stop shit. Look at the Buccaneers right now.
Stop shit. Look at that defense last year when they were crushing every single passing attack there. Yeah. This is the same defense that this year is giving up. We've mentioned it before, but I keep harping on this one. Over 300 yards to Mac Jones. This is
who are currently losing 60-3 to the Buccaneers.
Yeah. And then it goes to the Ravens, who have literally the best defense in all of football this year now. Not that the Ravens aren't known for good defense year in, year out. I don't want to overplay that part of it there.
Yeah.
But this is even for the Ravens a special defense. So yeah, I like that move because like I said, I've seen him be successful now multiple places. He's also a former assistant with the Jets, was thought very well within that franchise as well. So it'd be his first time as a DC, but I'm okay with the first time DC guys. I don't care if he's got a history of that. I just want to see success where they go. And then if they have a specific forte, like in this case, stopping the pass, then keep a guy like Andre Patterson, our defensive line coach, and make sure he's there at that point to keep things going for that part of the game at that point there, you know? It's like I said, it's just not the worst thing in the world to go get a young guy who's got a track record.
And who, I mean, as a biased Giants fan, who we just invested a first round pick in a quarterback and a cornerback.
Foreshadowing.
Just saying, like, you might want something like this to coach your number one pick overall.
We're going to have a new starting cornerback next year because I don't think there's a shot in hell we re-signed Adoree Jackson. We've already talked about that. Though I will go on record saying Nick McLeod, if worst comes to worst, I'm cool.
He's definitely stepped up.
I'm cool with it. I'm not saying it's ideal because it may want to be a short-term thing, but yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world to do at that point. Have Nick McLeod, he's looked good on the chances he's gotten. Former Titans defensive coordinator Shane Bowen is also interviewing with the Giants and the Jaguars as well for their defensive coordinator position. He's been their defensive coordinator since 2021 and was their outside linebackers coach from 18 to 20. Now, the only question I have with this guy, and again, I admit really, Rob and I are football fanatics. We watch it nonstop. We read about it nonstop. It's part of why we do what we do here, because let's be frank, if it wasn't for the show, we'd be talking football anyway nonstop.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm curious about, and I don't even know if a Titan fan can necessarily even answer this one, is how much of this defense was Shane Bowen, and how much of this was Mike Vrabel? That's one thing that worries me in these kind of scenarios. You have a defensive-minded head coach that, let's be very frank, and if you need any more proof of what I'm about to say, look at why he's not a head coach right now. He's a very strongly opinionated, heavy in the you do it my way kind of coach. So how much of that is Bowen and how much of that is Vrabel? And I don't know the answer to that. Like I said, maybe somebody who's actually a Titan fan has an opinion on that, but I don't think there's a way of knowing that, to be very frank. I really don't.
No, I mean, that's a hard one.
Right?
It's one of those things time's going to tell. Like, it could be, Bowen doing his thing with Vrabel in his back ear, or it could be Vrabel with his hands up, Bowen's what, saying, hey, here's your puppet, let's do this, blah, 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 blah.
You say
and that's worst case scenario. It's took us. But I mean, I would like to stay away from majority of the Titans. We can, because they're on a whole fire sale right now to rebuild that whole organization, which it's fine. That's what they need to do. So you don't know, you're going to get coaches and players at discount, but you don't know who's doing what. Like you said, this is a perfect scenario. We talked about earlier about the previous coach. That's one thing. When you're talking about him coaching like King Henry, obviously there's a track record there. Then what he's played with. This is something like, if he's coming from the Ravens, if he's coming from San Francisco, if he's coming from another strong defensive team, you may take a shot on that. Right now, with what's going on in that organization, that's something like I would like to see El Paso.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just not so sold in that because of what, like we said, the connection of how much was Vrabel, how much was him. Now he could blow an interview out of the water, but we're not going to be part of that interview room unless the Giants want us there. We are available for Skype calls. Just got to give us a call and a heads up ahead of time, guys. We have work.
Yeah.
But Yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens there. The Giants also requested permission to speak with Chargers defensive coordinator Derrick Ansley, who took over play calling duties after Brandon Staley was fired. In the 2 games that he called the defense, his defenses gave up a total of 21 points. Okay, now, whereas prior to that firing, the defense was averaging 25.1 points per game. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people giving him a kind of a semi-pass on the 25 points, and they're blaming Brandon Staley for that, which I get. Brandon Staley's a horrible coach. You know, I've been talking about that for how many, bases since we started the show. But
much. Yeah.
It should be noted, it's not by many, but it should be noted that both those games were against subpar, not complete offenses. So the first game was Denver, no Russell Wilson. Second game was Kansas City, no Taylor Swift even. There was they were all backups. That was the last game.
Yeah, I was literally trying to look that up right now.
That's what I'm saying. So do I trust that as a legit, hey, my team really improved because I was play calling? I can't trust that. You were playing crap. You were playing little league teams basically at that point. So I'm not going to trust that. Now, Ansley and Daboll both coached together in Alabama, and Ansley also was one of the position coaches for Xavier McKinney back then, which is kind of interesting as we talk about the McKinney. Is he going to, come back and play for the Giants, or is he going to take a big contract elsewhere kind of situation? Personally, Ansley, for me, would be probably a hard pass. I'm not so sure he's the guy I'd want. But, again, we're not in the interview room. For all we know, these guys blow it away in the interview process. You never know. So we'll have to see. Now, giving you guys the updates on the Eagles game, by the way, the Eagles just scored a touchdown. They went for the extra point and offsides. So they went for the push to get the 1 yard 2-point conversion and did not get it. They did not get it. Oh yeah. So you got 16-9 now. So they're still down by a touchdown. Come on, Bucks. Come on, Bucks.
Yeah.
None of pretend to be.
We stand like Captain Morgan for the rest of the night.
Exactly. Hey, this is like 20 minutes from my house right now. This game. I was actually tempted to go if we weren't recording tonight because it's like $150 for a ticket. That's all it was.
Oh, that's nothing. Dude,
no, it's really nothing.
Definitely took advantage of that. You should go next weekend.
Bucks fans aren't Bucks fans. I'm telling you right now, they're not. There's more people that live here that are a fan of whatever team. Like you'll go to a game.
Well, that's because you got so many people that retire down there.
Well, not just retired people like me that just moved down there because it's cheaper. They want some sunshine, You go to a game with the New York team, a Philly team or something like that. It's jam packed with a team. I guarantee you, it's half and half that stadium right now, even for a playoff team. Guarantee it's half and half. Now, Giants also requested to speak with Dolphins linebacker coach Anthony Campanelli. Now they requested it. I can say this because he is currently their linebackers coach. The Dolphins can't turn it down. It's more of a, hey, we don't want to talk to him. You can't stop us, but we're trying to be nice to tell you beforehand. That kind of move. So he's been with them since 2020 and coached in college before then at Michigan, where he was the linebackers coach in 19, Boston College, where he worked his way up to be the co-defensive coordinator at 18, and Rutgers, where he coached from 12 to 15, coaching DBs, tight ends, and running backs. He's a native of Fair Lawn, New Jersey, so he's a Jersey boy. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
We got the Jersey boy here. He began his coaching career at Fair Lawn High School and then Don Bosco Prep, which pretty much anybody from the state of New Jersey knows what that school is. Jordan Raanan of ESPN, also the Breaking Big Blue podcast as well, is now reporting that Jerome Henderson is also considered a candidate in this whole process as well. He's been our defensive backs coach here for quite a while. So he played in the NFL from 91 to 98. Been coaching DBs since 2007, came out of the Giants as part of Judge's staff here, and Daboll held on to him. We talked about him a lot in the process during the year. We said, hey, if Wink goes, this is the guy we would be okay with keeping, and promoting to DC. He's been very good, guys. If you look at what we've done well as a defense, it's been pretty much all defensive backs there and defensive linemen. So Andre Patterson over the last couple of years, but over the last 4 years or so, Jerome Henderson's been a stud, dude. I mean, we have people going in and out, injuries like crazy. He keeps just putting people in and just doing their thing. So I'm all for that move as a potential there. Again, depending who the other candidates are. I got to hear all the final candidates there, but
yes,
that's the move I would not be upset with at all. All right. We got another coordinator position still up for grabs there, and that's special teams. Who wants that position? Because nobody seems to be able to talk to us. Because the Giants requested permission to interview Panthers interim head coach and special team coordinator Chris Tabor. Denied. The Giants were also denied the request to interview Falcons special team coordinator Marquice Williams. That is 3 candidates that were denied the chance to interview, including we talked about last week, the Chargers special team coordinator Ryan Ficken.
Let's say that the Falcons just don't like us. That's too.
Well, again, the Falcons, the Chargers, most of the teams that don't have a head coach, they're going to keep the assistants under, contract just in case whoever they bring on wants to keep them, which is one thing I should state as well as we talked about the defensive coordinator there, Derrick Ansley for the Chargers. You notice they didn't block him. Something to point out. Just saying. They blocked their special team coordinator, not their defensive coordinator. I'm good. I'll pass.
Yeah.
Now, one that
as soon as I heard that, I was like, Chargers last year. What were they known for? What were they known for? Losing games.
Shit.
Getting blown out.
Poop.
Losing, looking ways to lose games. Defense sucked. Pass.
Yeah. So special team coordinator wise, though, we did get one person to interview. 49ers assistant special teams coach and assistant DBs coach Matt Harper interviewed this weekend for that job. He's been with the 49ers now since 2021. Started as an assistant DB coach before moving on to helping with special teams as well. Prior to that, he also spent 2013 to 2020 with the Eagles, where he coached special teams, wide receivers, and DBs. So it'd be his first time as a special team coordinator. Again, I'm not opposed to first timers. You just better blow it out of the water with these interviews, guys. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we'll see where things go. But yeah, that's a bunch of names we just talked about here over the last 27 minutes, and not a single hire yet, guys. So
they're going to take this. They're not going to take the time, but they're going to make the
they're going to be thorough. They're going to be thorough. Yes. Which is interesting because people complained about them not being thorough with the offensive line hire because they went ahead and basically interviewed one guy and hired him. Just shows you he blew them out the water, guys.
Well, I mean, we alluded to it before. At least I definitely did. Said you probably were interviewing some of these coaches that you kind of saw on the sidelines where you really couldn't be, but you kind of met the guy. Yeah. You saw what they did on the field.
Oh yeah.
You kind of knew what you liked about them, and they came in.
Go out for lunch when they went to Vegas.
Yeah,
because obviously we did play this year.
And then you come to the interview process, and look at that. The interview is fantastic. You're everything we like. Boom. Yeah,
it's amazing. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty here because it's time to talk about the big story today from Pat Leonard of the Daily News. And let's go over the meat and potatoes of it first, and we'll talk about our thoughts on it in a minute here and what it is. All right, so I'll give you kind of the cliff notes of some of the stuff that was in there. So week 11, Daboll was upset at Wink for allowing the Commanders to stay in the game. That week, the defense had forced 4 turnovers and the special teams another. 2 out of the 3 DeVito TD passes that week were helped by getting short field due to those turnovers. After a roughing the passer penalty on Kayvon Thibodeau, which I do remember that play specifically because that was like, we were like, oh my God, they're going to mess this up. After the roughing passer penalty, Daboll went over the headset and said, you're going to lose this game just like you cost us the Jets game. Again, according to this report, that's what he said.
Yeah.
In that Jets game, if you remember, we lost 13-10, and the offense threw for -9 yards because of all the yards we lost because of all the sacks and the lack of throwing the ball forward. So
we tried to lose that game if you
Yeah.
recall correctly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a little weird to blame the defense on that game, that's for sure. One source said Daboll has no composure, and his comments were always reactive as opposed to proactive. So in other words, he'd wait for you to mess up and then complain you messed up, as opposed to seeing you on your way to messing up and saying, hey, hold on. Before we do this, let's do this instead. Which is one of the things they always teach you in everything, managerial, leadership skills, stuff like that. Keep an eye on people, guide them along the way. Don't just complain when you let them do whatever they want and that you don't like what they did in the end, because you gave them that freedom. It's what they train you on. So it got so bad at one point that Martingdale reached out to ownership to circumvent Daboll, which we've talked about in prior reports. Ownership then asked Joe Schoen to get involved. Schoen was monitoring interactions via the headset in the game with the Commanders, the Patriots, the Packers, and Saints, but did not the final three. According to the report as well, Daboll took play calling away from Kafka multiple times. As an example, he gave play calling to quarterback coach Shea Turney for the second half of the Dallas game in Week 10. Daboll also took over offensive meetings in Week 7 ahead of their first Washington game, and he didn't give Kafka back control of the meetings until Week 11. Pat Leonard also says he knows of one circumstance where a Giants staffer got a call from NFL assistant calling about a vacancy and said, do not come here. So he's suggesting that somebody called up a Giants staffer and said, hey, I heard you got an opening here. And he said, nope, don't do it, basically. Don't come here. You don't want to be here.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shit show. Now, Daboll's game day decisions, again, according to this report, are known to be up for grabs, impulse calls without guardrails. Which I thought was interesting because that's such a specific quote. I feel like if you are somebody who hangs out with these people on a regular basis, whoever gave this quote, you're going to know who it is. That doesn't sound like a weird off the cuff kind of comment. That sounds like a comment like somebody would use that phrase all the time. Like, oh, it's off the guardrails.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much to believe about all this reporting. I mean, granted, we'll see.
Let's finish the rest of this real quick, and then we'll get into that because you and I are on the same page. Daboll giving Wink the game ball after the Patriots game was also seen by team officials as a stage public relations move. Well, obviously.
Duh.
The report also says Daboll still has support of the players. It seems due to both the playoff win and their later training camp, which is something apparently a lot of the players really, really liked. Now, I will say this because this is the only person I've seen go at it that I want to actually give them kudos because they actually are legitimately in the media and have been in the locker room for multiple decades. Russ Salzberg has called the whole report a hack job. So, yeah. Now go into it, Rob.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how much I believe about this. I feel like this is like one of those, hey, go grab, let me get my media attention, let me get this out there going without all the details put into place. Like, there's plenty of news cycles in the world today, and especially in sports, where they'll make up a story. I should say make up a story. They'll piggyback and give alleged details from insider sources without giving that insider sources or telling you how they got those details to stress a story like this to make it sound like Daboll was a D-bag this whole time, which he could be. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm not saying he is. But people take advantage of situations like what's just going on between him and Wink because they're pro Wink and making Daboll sound like a doucher.
Well, for all we know, Wink is the guy who gave these sources.
You're 100% right.
Part of it, we have no clue who the hell gave this, but I mean, who has anything to win by giving Pat Leonard any information right now, except for Drew Wilkins and Wink Martingdale?
Wilkins.
That's the two people that I would say. And I have heard sources say that they think Drew Wilkins is actually the guy who released the Glazer report, not even Wink. Now, don't get me wrong, Drew wouldn't do that probably without Wink's okay, but it makes you wonder. Now, for those who don't know Pat Leonard, also, I should point this out. Pat Leonard is like, you know, when you watch the Weather Channel and there's a hurricane going on, and there's this guy that like makes everything seem like we're about to die and the end of the world's coming, and then you see somebody walking behind them, walking the dog, and they're perfectly fine. That's Pat Leonard.
Yeah, that's a good call.
He loves to always make things worse than they actually are. He loves because, listen, it gets him money. Let's be very frank.
Yeah.
It makes him money and his paper money. So I'm not saying he's the worst guy in the world for doing it, because there's plenty of people that do it, guys. Absolutely plenty of people that do it. So he's not the only one by any measure of the stick there. But like I said, I have an issue with anything that's 100% one-sided. And this is an obviously 100% one-sided kind of thing. And I think part of that is, to be very frank, if I am the Giants or I am Daboll, why would I answer questions about this? It's done. It's gone. Wink is gone. I don't need to be involved in this. The more I talk about it, the longer it stays relevant. I want it just to go away.
Look at every other situation they've had, and they've squashed right away.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, exactly. Why would Daboll? Why would Merriff? Why would any of the people?
It'd be stupid.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about it on the phone before we got going too, as well. We were like going, "Oh my God, good." You know, Daboll took over the play calling duties. Or did Daboll take off the playing call? That was like a story all during the regular season, and not a goddamn person was pissed off about it then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But now we're supposed to be pissed off about it.
Yeah, like it makes no sense. Like everyone was talking about the whole time when Daboll's in that one game, like we're making the ball right here.
Yeah,
everyone's like, "Oh my God, he took away from Kafka." Like, "Oh my God, we're looking better on offense." Like this, great job, Daboll. Everyone's now
he's a jerk for it, apparently. Yeah. Now he's a jerk for it, apparently. And I'll say this: I didn't see anything in the report about the Arizona game. I know it's the one everybody was always focused on during the season. The second half of the Arizona game, did he take away off play calling duties? We all think he did. But here's one thing. He may have motherfucked them and all to hell like that over the headset and stuff like that. But you never once heard Daboll in public talk any trash about any of his coaches whatsoever.
Never.
So did he take it too far in the headset? Hell, how many times we joke about it? Every single goddamn game he's going off on a ref. Every single game. He's a hothead.
And there's a difference between the way some people talk to other people. This is also not the corporate America. Granted, the NFL organization is a corporation. It is also a football team.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to sound a little bit more like a sailor than a salesman.
There's some businesses where that's just accepted. I mean, the auto repair business, people curse and talk like crazy. Now, is it acceptable for me as the boss to do it? No, it is not. And I would get in trouble in a heartbeat for it. So that's where the difference still comes into be.
You're still a little bit more of a corporation compared to an NFL team, a football team. You're allowed to say, be a little more gritty with your interviews and your conversations.
Can you imagine car sales nowadays? He'd be like fired in a week.
Oh yeah, he'd be canceled in no time.
Can you talk about his mama? Like, you know what? Listen, is Daboll a hothead? Yes. Is he probably somewhat reckless because of that temper? Yes. Does he probably need to improve on that to improve as a head coach? 100%.
Yes.
100%. Because I'll say this as somebody with a really, really bad temper. I have spent a lot of time in my life to improve as far as how I deal with anger and how I deal with my temper, because my temper made me say and do things that I should not do and should not say. I'm sure Daboll's the same way because we all see him go off the handle. What I like to see this year from him is for him to have his own Tom Coughlin moment, where instead of him being like that this year, you see a slightly calmer. And I've said slightly calmer. I'm not saying he's got to go ahead and go, oh, please, if you could stop being such a crappy coordinator, I would appreciate that. I'm not saying he has to go to that. But if he's truly having issues, and who knows how much of it's true, let me put it this way. There's probably some truth in this. This statement is probably not complete bullshit. But if I had to guess in the percentage-wise, maybe 25%. I don't think it's 100%, 50% or anything like that, because we only have half the story there. We only have one side of it. And, it wouldn't just be Wink trying to leave if it was that bad, guys. You don't think Kafka would be trying to leave too? You don't think Kafka would be like, hey, he just worked out a deal at Wink. Can we do the same?
Yeah.
He has that option. I mean, unless there's something behind closed doors we're unaware of, which, hey, with this team, you never know. You never know. So, but yeah, said I'm not reading too much into it. I don't think too much of it. I'm not too worried about it personally. Like I said, I think Daboll has some room to grow, obviously, and mature as a leader of a football team. That's safe to say. But listen, he wants to win, guys. He wants to win, and there's no doubt that he's going to do what he's got to do and take a look at this year. And I'm sure Shane's also had conversations with them as well. So yeah.
Listen, you don't think the fact that the guy's passionate about wanting to win, wanting to do the right thing for your team, didn't help him get his job? Like, let's be real here. Like, his fiery temper is part of the reason what makes him good at what he does. Like,
exactly.
You're not going to be able to take it all away from it. Yes, you're right. There's definitely things he can prove on, but at the same time, yeah, that passion goes a long way in the locker room.
That it does. So, like I said, we'll see. We'll see what that does and how much truth it is. I think we'll find out more as we go along. But like I said, I think there's probably some truth in it. I wouldn't say complete hack job, but mostly a hack job. That's what I would call it. Mostly a hack job. Again, and the hack job part really becomes the fact that it's one-sided. It's one-sided. That's an issue always. I always have an issue with anything that's one-sided, because if I'm not hearing both sides, I can't listen to both to make an opinion. I can't.
Yeah. Listen,
that's an issue.
If it was that bad with Daboll, it would have come out earlier how bad it was.
Oh, yeah.
And two, you would probably imagine that Daboll would have been let go and Wink would have stayed if it was that bad.
Yeah. I mean, especially if it was bad enough to warrant a potential lawsuit or anything like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
again, like, if you're calling in people.
It's different with the NFL, but when you start bringing in higher up bosses and stuff like that to see what's going on.
But you get HR involved, like there's.
Yeah. Plus, who would have thought Wink Martingdale would be the guy to get HR involved?
Yeah, right?
Seriously. Like, listen, I'm not saying never get HR involved in a job situation. But I'm saying this, if I have to get HR involved in a job situation, it's because somebody threatened me, someone already hit me, or someone is making passes at me in an inappropriate way. That's the only three things that would get me probably to do that.
I would imagine the two of those coaches would have gotten in a fist fight without contacting HR.
Hey, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of a shocker to me. That wouldn't have, because I do believe that happened. I really do. That's a good part of the 20% right there, I believe.
I definitely feel like they would have got a physical at each other because they both seem like hotheads.
Physical. They want to get
physical.
All right, let's get off the stupid Pat Leonard crap because Pat Leonard. It's Pat Leonard. By the way, guys,
we got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, heads up, guys. We are at halftime, by the way, with the Eagles and Bucks game. 16-9 still the score for Pro Bucks. So good job there, Buccos. All right, next up here, Seattle Seahawks have requested a head coaching interview with the aforementioned Mike Kafka. Now, this is the second head coaching interview he's going to be, going on this offseason. And I got to say, am I missing something?
It is.
Charlie,
it is hard. It is hard to blame this whole offense on Mike Kafka this year when you're playing not only with your first string, your second string, your third string, who is also an undrafted free agent, your offensive line that you should have 5 guys on, which you've turned into 10 guys rotating because of injuries. You have your star tight end. It should be your number 1 receiver that's out for 50% of the year. You had other injuries going back and forth. You had your stud player on offense miss 4.5 games this year in Barkley. Like, there's a lot of doubts that happened to this team, and Red. If we play like we did at the beginning of the year, we probably should have fell apart. So the fact that we stayed so together and put a little string of wins together in the second half of the year, that it gives a little testament to what Kafka could do, especially going off of what happened last year. So that's where I think he's getting that I think that's where he's getting the looks at. It's not necessarily he's getting interviewed. It's not necessarily he's going to get hired there. And it's also, look how many head coaching jobs need to get filled this year compared to years past. You're 7 this year.
I get it. But what I'm saying is you have the second or third worst offense in the entire league. I'm not suggesting that what you're suggesting is good for okay, let's give another chance. That's not let's promote him. That's not let's promote him.
Yeah, I get that. But my thing too is also, which I agree. I mean, I don't understand why he's getting the head coaching aspect looked at it, but there's also 7 teams right now without a head coach that they're looking to fill that void. There's probably going to be.
But are you saying that hypothetically,
by the end of the week, there might be more head coaches that need a job?
Taking out, and there's probably one more, I think, but if not 2, but taking out the aspect of the fact that 7 coaches got let go or resigned.
So 1 or 2 more, you're talking 8, 9. We're talking about
no. But here's what I'm saying. So you got some of those are going to go for another job. Mike Vrabel will probably get another job.
Oh yeah,
Bill Belichick will probably get another job. So they're not all going to be new coaches coming into this league. Some of them will be moving on
I'm
around.
not saying that.
But what? No. Hold on. Hear me out. You look at the assistants in this league, and is there any room at all for you to sit there and say that Mike Kafka is in the top 7 of the assistants of the NFL?
I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go anywhere near there.
But you also got to look at.
I wouldn't even sit there and say he's in the upper half, which is 32.
You could argue he's average in that ballpark.
And that's 32 if you don't want to. 32 is if you don't want to include special teams coordinators.
Yeah, you could
because they don't really typically get the job. So if you say there's 32 teams, that means there's 64 offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators in the league. Would you include him as a top 7? There's no way in hell.
So
no way in hell.
Once you start refining the search, do you want an offensive coach or a defense coach to run your team?
You know what?
Some teams will do that. So you take away half that. You don't take away everyone, but obviously, you kind of chop it up a little bit. How many are on a contract where you can't take it? So now you can't take 64. You have to reduce it down. How many of those offensive coordinators or other coaches played for that team that's looking to hire someone that they won't hire them back out of pride and just they already gave them the chance? Why bring them back? So now you're looking at close to 30% of the NFL is looking to hire new head coaches. So why not look at someone that's never had that job before?
Because he sucks at the current job necessarily. I mean, again, we don't know if it's all him that's the suckiness, but the offense sucked. Yeah. You're in charge of the offense. It sucked. Again, not that I'm suggesting that every team succeeds under adversity like this team did, but look at the Browns. Browns had their third or fourth quarterback. The Browns had their entire offensive line decimated. The Browns had their running back out for the year, let alone a few games like ours. You could sit there and say that the Browns had worse. Yeah, you could sit there and say the Browns had worse injuries than we did. You could make that case, and it's a valid case.
No, it's a valid, solid case. Not just like make the case. That is the case.
So I'm going to sit there and say Gregory Van Pelt, who is their offensive coordinator, is a guy I would talk to way ahead of Kafka.
So, I mean, the Browns just lost this weekend. It's not like he could have turned around. Like, he could have made an offer to Kafka last week.
Wow, way to be. Spoiler alert. We haven't gone over the scores yet. Spoiler alert. But yeah, like I said, it boggles me like why anybody would be like, Mike Kafka, this is the guy I got to talk to for my head coaching job. I would be nowhere near this guy. In fact, if you were a GM and I were an owner and you went up to me and said, we really got to bring in for an interview Mike Kafka, I'd be like, are you fucking shitting me? Do I need a GM too?
So, I mean, what was it? Indianapolis he interviewed with last year, and they're like,
he interviewed a few spots. Arizona. Yeah. I mean, and last year made a little more sense because, but last year made a little more sense because of the success that the Giants had. And again, and I'm not sitting there saying
to get him these interviews is that, and plus you're looking at the Seahawks. You still got Sneaky Pete over there, who can sit there and coach up their new coach if he goes there because he's going to be the advisor.
Yeah, he'll be kind of like Bruce was when he was in Tampa.
Yeah,
when Bruce Arians retired, he was very much considered like an assistant coach, kind of on the side, especially last year.
Yeah, hey kid, this is what you got to do, kid.
I just don't see it. So
no, I don't agree with it, but like I get it to a point. I don't agree with it, but
yeah, no, I want nothing. I'm telling you, I want nothing at all to do with him if I'm to the team. I would not think of him as a legit coach. But again, somebody wants him, take him. I've been pretty adamant about the fact that I don't care if I lose Kafka, because if I'm going to lose him, I'd rather lose him this year and let us have some consistency with their new quarterback that I think we're going to get, and let him have a guy that he can, be with for a couple of years before he goes off to greener pastures. So we'll see. On Saturday news, former Giants quarterback Norm Sneed died on Sunday at the age of 84 in 1972. He went 8-5 as a starter and led the league in completion percentage. 72 would be the last winning season the Giants would have until 1981. We know there's some bad times in the 70s for the Giants. And Sneed was the last Giants quarterback to go to the Pro Bowl that year until Sims did it in 1985. So, yeah, definitely had a good stretch there of bad play. And he was the last kind of good guy there towards the very end of the good Giants period there. So condolences to his family and friends. If you're interested in learning more about Norm, we did do a whole episode about the top 10 quarterbacks in Giants history. Spoiler alert, Eli Manning may be part of that. But
just maybe.
But yeah, like I said, it's if you guys are enjoy Giants history as a whole, since it's the off season, there's no games to watch, guys. We did a whole series on the positions. We're probably going to finish that up this off season here, but we have a lot of the positions already done there on there. If you want to learn about Giants history overall, if you go to the YouTube page, there's a whole playlist with all of those there. So feel free, suck up all the knowledge you can. It was good for us to learn, because let's be honest, some of the guys we didn't even know about. We really didn't even know about him ourselves. Norm Sneed, I'll be very frank with you. Before we did that, I'd heard of the name. I didn't know too much about him, because that's 10 years before I was born, guys. So it was nice to learn a little more on the history and the Giants organization as a whole, even though, yes, the 70s were definitely very dark times for the Giants. Here's a good one for you. Tankathon, who was, if you remember, we talked about them quite often during the season. That is a website we followed very religiously during the season, because it literally told us basically where we're going to pick in the draft, and it was much more dead on than a lot of the other places that we looked at here. So the Giants were in their mock draft, the latest mock draft, obviously, but we weren't picking 6. We were picking number 1, guys, because in their mock draft, they made a huge trade. And we talked about this on Twitter. We've got about 16,000 people so far that have seen the tweet, and a lot of comments, a lot of sharers, and a lot of yays, I say very mixed reaction, which I'm kind of shocked by. I think probably it depends on who you like in this draft and everything as far as whether or not you want to make this kind of trade. But here was the trade. Feel free to pop in the comments section what you think about it there.
I'm right here. I'm just telling you live.
Well, not you. I'm saying people watching us here. Okay. Sheesh.
Out there in podcast land.
Out YouTube there land. In vodcast land. The Bears would send us, obviously, the number 1 overall pick. In return, we would send them Saquon Barkley in a tag and trade. The 6th overall pick, obviously. They would also get our second. The 39th, we do keep the Seahawk one. So we still have a second-round pick. We give up next year our first-round pick, and the year after that, our second round. I got to say, if I am Joe Schoen and I get the Bears to agree to this deal, and I have a guy that I think is, I hate to use a Gettleman term here, a gold jacket guy. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, if you have a guy that you go, you know what, this is a quarterback that's going to be a generational talent. Regardless of what I think personally, if Joe Schoen thinks that, and this kind of deal is on the table,
it's his job on the line. He's got to
go ahead and make that goddamn deal. Now, I'm not so sure a guy is going to be available that's that kind of talent. But if you're Joe Schoen and you think that, you go get him. And I don't care if it's Caleb. I don't care if it's Drake May. I don't care if it's Jaden Daniels. Because, guys, those 3 quarterbacks, the big names that everybody talks about, picking at 6, they probably won't be there. Let's be very frank.
Yeah.
Because the Bears or somebody else is going to go want to take Caleb Williams. You're going to have the Commanders number 2. Or as of right now, unless they make a trade with the Bears, I keep on thinking they're going to swap picks at some point potentially. But you got the Commanders need a quarterback. You got the Patriots need a quarterback. Those guys are gone. So if you really like one of them, and this is the kind of trade, what I love about this trade really, and it's funny because I'm like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is giving up. I'm like, hold on a second here. What I really like is, again, we're giving up a second this year, but we already have the extra second from the Leonard Williams deal. So we're not without a second round pick. We just don't get our extra. We're giving up a first next year, but we're not giving the second up to the following year after that.
Yeah, so you're not losing a lot of capital in one draft.
Yeah, you're spreading out the pain, so to speak, you know? So I like this a lot. I again, if the player is there that Shane thinks is worth it, don't just make it for the sake of making it. You better have a target, and you better know that you've done your homework and know this is the target that you want to get in that process. You know what I mean? Yeah. Again, regardless of who it is, I'm going to trust you, Shane. I'm going to trust you, but you get one trust after that. After that, you can't trust you anymore.
Can't break my heart.
Can't fool me once, call me human. But yeah, like I said, I can't believe the people that said no to it. I thought everybody would be like, yes, 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 yes. And if I had to take a tally of the people that commented on it, I think we probably have more yeses than nos, to be honest. But there's a lot of people like, no, we need those extra picks. Or like, no, nobody's worth it. And again, I don't dispute the worth it part. You got to have a guy worth it. But for those who are saying that picks guys, what do you use those picks for? Maybe get a quarterback? Maybe somebody to throw the ball to? We got no one throwing the ball? If you get a chance to get a generational quarterback, you freaking take it. God damn it, you take it. And you don't look back. Because there's nothing like having a quarterback, guys. Remember having Eli? Remember how nice it was not to worry about that position for, 15 years almost?
Yeah. I mean, his first 2 years a little shaky, but it was definitely worth it.
That's every quarterback. And I'm telling you, I feel bad for any quarterback when they come here because, God damn it, we are a ruthless fan base. We are ruthless. Unless they come out like CJ Stroud, they're in for it. And even then, I can still picture if the CJ Stroud played in New York, people are like, oh, well, he missed that one play.
That blow wasn't big enough.
If you really put people under the microscope here, it's really unfair. But it is what it is. All right. On to the next year. So we got Louis Reddick. Remember, we talked about him quite often in Giants lore. He was the guy who also went for the Giants interview there for GM back when they gave the job to Dave Gettleman. He said on ESPN that when he interviewed for the Giants GM position, he called Nick Saban to gauge his interest in becoming the team's head coach. Interesting. He didn't say what Saban said, but interesting that was his plan, was to potentially get that kind of top-notch coach at that point there. And I'm not sure what I think about Nick Saban as an NFL coach. He's been there, done that, didn't do very well. Miami didn't go the best for him. But like I said, just interesting. Interesting that was his plan.
It's also Miami, but at that time especially.
Listen, we weren't in that good a shape either at this point here.
Yeah.
I do wonder now, though, because of the fact he's so solidified. Keep in mind, when he went to Miami, he was leaving LSU. Now he's leaving Alabama, and half the league played for him in college. That'd be a different thing, because it makes you wonder, like, how many of these Alabama kids go, let's go play for Saban again?
It's true.
That it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting. I was curious how it would have worked to that point, but we'll never know because we picked the wrong GM candidate potentially. I don't think either one of them are great candidates. Let me put that out there, but yeah, considering how bad Gettleman was, could have been worse. Like, no, definitely probably couldn't. But now we got a couple QBs there. We talked about QBs a minute ago. A couple QBs there that are declaring for the NFL draft. Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy have both declared for the NFL draft. Obviously, one being the probable first overall pick, and one being, late first, early second kind of quarterback there. But two guys that have been linked to the Giants in different conversations there. Another guy linked to the Giants there, PFF, which, I take their ratings with a grain of salt, except for corner and line. That's the two positions I like looking at that because it's hard to do stats on line and corner. But they listed the Giants as one of the top 5 potential landing spots for edge rusher Josh Allen. I thought that was
Josh Allen,
because if you remember correctly, during the NFL draft, we took with the number 6 overall pick a certain quarterback from Duke, Daniel Jones, when Josh Allen was sitting there. And I'll tell you point blank, I almost went Cowboy fanish and just like threw my phone against the TV. I was livid. Josh Allen was the obvious pick. I thought he should have been the pick. I still think he should have been the pick. And yeah, we have a chance to right that wrong potentially, I guess, this offseason, but we'll see. I'm not so sure the Giants go for that kind of big splash. I'm not so sure they do, really. But if they do, it's not a bad big splash to get, guys. Josh Allen, good player, still really young, had 13, 14 sacks last year, in a breakout year for him there. So yeah, could be a whole lot worse. That's for damn sure. So I'll take it. That'd be a nice combo. Imagine having Josh Allen one side, Kayvon Thibodeau the other side.
Oh, it'd be beautiful.
Yeah. By the way, 17.5 sacks. I looked it up to verify. 17.5 sacks last year. That'd be a few. Yeah, that'd be a pretty cool combo. Hard to beat there. That's for damn sure. We also got a birthday. Happy birthday.
It's a birthday.
It's your birthday. Birthday. Hakeem Nicks there turned 36 yesterday. I can't believe he's just 36 years old.
I was about to say, so young. He's been out of the league for so long now.
You know what it is? Because the injuries just killed him. He was still in his 20s when he had to retire. I had to do a double take and go, is that correct? Am I reading this right when I'm doing the notes on this episode here? 36.
Yeah, no, I'm saying,
I know it feels like that. It feels like that. So, because keep in mind, he started playing in 2009 and stopped playing in 2015. So he didn't play very long. Unfortunately, like I said, injuries just kind of killed his career there. But yeah, I mean that's pretty crazy there. He's still just 36. I mean, think about it. If he was wasn't for the injuries, he might be like at the tail end of his career right now.
Probably.
Meanwhile, he hasn't played. He hasn't played in 8 years. That's just mind-boggling to me. Especially for the guy who had 5,000 yards in such a short career. It's just like I said. That's one of those he's up there with like David Wilson as like what could have been. So, yeah. Again, happy birthday, Hakeem Nicks. All right.
Stay healthy.
Before we get going here with the next section here, we still got to go around the league and give you guys a couple notes in the NFL in general. And then, again, go over what happened this weekend with the games here. So let's pay the bills real quick, go through some comments, then we'll finish all that stuff up there for you guys.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, let's get to some comments here. We got a few here tonight. Deb says, NFL Plus doesn't show live games, right? Only once they're over. Nope, they play live games. They play them just on the your phone or your tablet. You can't watch them on a TV. But it's good for a lot of the stuff that is either local games that are televised on. Yeah, or the game Monday nights. Yeah, Monday night and stuff like that's also on there as well. So there's this, like I said, it comes in handy. I have it because of the fact that, again, I live in Florida. I don't have cable. So it gives me a nice option to watch some stuff there on a tablet. And if you put a tablet right next to your eyes, it's the same as a TV anyway.
Pretty much.
Really is. Then CP's New York Sports Network says, "Sup, fellas? What's up, man?
What's up, man?"
Deb says, "This would not be new to Shane. He did a lot of wheeling and dealing to get Josh Allen. Don't remember the details." Yeah, they traded up twice to get Josh Allen. They traded up twice. That was, yeah. Yeah. She also says, "I would not be surprised to see McCarthy go with Harbaugh. I think he may get picked earlier in this draft." We've talked about it for a while. We said Raiders. That'd be a Raider move. And the Raiders are interviewing Jim Harbaugh, as are I believe the Chargers, and one of the team as well, I think, is also looking too. So, yeah,
there's a few teams around the league. There's definitely a few teams. You get a name like Harbaugh,
he'll be successful in the short term. It's the long term issues he has.
He's the guy that's rough around the edges.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He makes Daboll look like a pussycat.
Exactly.
So
I was about to say the same thing.
Pussycat. All right, let's go around the league here. So Patriots did promote Jared Mayo to head coach. A lot of speculation about Mike Vrabel with that one. It turns out that in the contract with Jared Mayo, it said point blank that whenever Belichick was done, he was next up. So
I was about to say they signed that contract like 2 years ago. It wasn't even like, "Hey, we're going to do it." They're like, "Hey, we're in the middle of signing it."
Yeah. Jacksonville Jaguars are reportedly interested in interviewing Wink Martingdale for DC. Good luck. Enjoy that. If there's a Florida man defensive coordinator, though, it's Wink Martingdale.
Oh,
Florida man.
Florida
That man has definitely enjoyed some bath salts in his days. The Commanders hired 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters as GM. So they're setting up, with people that are successful, specifically in the Bay Area. They've already hired also the former Golden State Warriors GM to run the franchise as well, which is a weird combo there at that point, but whatever. We'll see if that succeeds going from basketball to football. But listen, if you're gonna steal from a franchise in the NFL, the 49ers are not the worst one to do it from.
No, and the guy they got from the Warriors is as far as the whole scouting. Apparently, he was a great scout. So we'll see. Yeah. I don't know if that correlates scouting basketball into the NFL, but
remember that was a big move when they got the Moneyball guy to go to Cleveland, and he was going to do the Browns, what he did for the A's.
Oh yeah.
I will say this though: if you look, it did work out. If you think about it, it really did, because they later on they had all these draft picks from all these moves they made and stuff like that, and that's what turned their franchise around. He just wasn't there to see that part of it. They got 1 or 2 years early. They let him go. Maxx Crosby said he would request a trade if Antonio Pierce is not kept as the head coach, according to sources. Interesting. I'll say this: his contract has him with a base salary between $19 to $21 million to whomever trades for him, and he had 14.5 sacks last year. Remember, that's not his salary with the Raiders. That's what will be remainder for whoever actually trades for him, because of the fact that the bonus and all is still paid by the Raiders. So interesting. That'd be a discounted rate to get that kind of pass rusher.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see what kind of trade people would make to get him, because he's got value to him. That's for damn sure. All right, let's get on to the games here. We're almost done here. The games.
Oh my.
At least the ones that are over. We got the one still going on here. First up.
16-9.
Oh yeah. First up, as the Eagles are punting again, by the way. We got the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. We talked about it. We wanted to see what kind of difference would it make having CJ Stroud in, and yeah, it made a huge goddamn difference. Texans won 45-14. CJ Stroud was definitely healthy. 16-21, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, perfect passer rating. Joe Flacco, meanwhile, threw two pick sixes in the third quarter alone. So obviously that didn't hurt the Texans' chances.
Yeah, the Texans. There was a point where you're like, oh, the Browns are still in this. They were up 14-10 at one point, and then all of a sudden, they threw a pick six, and then next thing you know, that CJ Stroud capitalized on some other great field positions, and then it just got out of control real fast. And it's
almost like when you have 2 cars racing, and then all of a sudden one hits the NOS button, the other one doesn't have it.
Yeah. Or the transmission fails.
They were neck and neck for a little bit there. But yeah, didn't last long there. So Rob and I were both wrong on that one, but I'm glad to be. Listen, I like the story of CJ Stroud as much as I dislike the Texans franchise itself as a whole, because of their ownership. But it's a good story for the people of the Houston that dealt with a crappy situation for a couple of years and go in automatically basically rebuild overnight. So kudos to them.
It was real fast. It's a nice little story.
It is. Next up.
Up next, 8:00 Saturday night, you had the Chiefs playing the Dolphins in Arrowhead Stadium. Where
I think that was played at the North Pole.
Yeah. Where the over-under of this game was 57, when it talked about how many times they were talking about how cold it was. Because kickoff, this was the 4th coldest game in NFL history, because when kickoff came around, it was negative, I think, 9 degrees out.
Yeah.
That's without the wind chill factor. So it was about negative 30 to 40 for most of that game. The Dolphins' only score came with a 53-yard pass to Tyreek Hill. Otherwise, they were clearly outmatched throughout the whole game. And they put up a quick score, and it was just, once again, it was another game there was no comeback from. Rashid Rice had 8 receptions, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco had 24 carries, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. The Chiefs did have some miscues and left some points on the table. They left it up there on the board, not to be taken, if you will. Which is weird to say with the Chiefs, because they didn't really capitalize. So they
also weird to say when you score 26 points.
Yeah, I mean, but this is also the Chiefs we're talking about here. So if they want to continue winning playoff games, they can't continue playing playoff games like they did. But it was also so cold out, and then, I don't know if you noticed during that first kickoff when Miami got rid of the ball, kicked off the football. That kicker turned around and just looked after he hit it.
Oh yeah,
because that football was like a block of ice that he was kicking down the field.
Yeah, I mean that's no lie. I mean I've always said that, especially with the technology we have nowadays, that whenever they get a kick situation they should bring a new ball out. It's fresh out of the climate controlled room at that point. There. If you hit a ball, football's been hanging out in that kind of weather, guys. For those who haven't,
It's like kicking rocks.
I'm just saying, put a football in your freezer and then go to the local park and try to punt it. Oh my God. Like you're gonna snap your foot off. I'm telling you, like it hurts.
Yeah.
That is
So-
not easy.
And just to give kudos before we get off here to Butler, who was the first kicker in NFL history to have 4 for 4 for kicks over, I think it was 40 yards in this cold of weather and be 100% accurate. So kudos to him by kicking those rocks.
I'm gonna give kudos to somebody else in this whole thing as well. And I don't think I'd ever thought I'd give them kudos in this. But kudos
Andy
to
Reid.
Taylor Swift, who actually hung out the whole game and everything and was dancing around and chanting with the fans and stuff like that. You know what? You could say a lot about the NFL shows her too often on TV and everything, and you're 100% right. Like, but she's gotten into it. So I'll give her credit. And she's brought a lot of fans over to the NFL that wouldn't necessarily have watched football beforehand. So for anybody complaining about Taylor Swift in the NFL, shut up. I get it, it's excessive, but they're doing what they got to do to spread it to a demographic that they otherwise would not have gotten the chance to. And like I said, I think she's good for the game. I really do. Like I said, I also feel bad because I think Travis Kelce's going to mess with her eventually, but that's between them.
Yeah, that's not my
thing to get involved with.
Yeah. I also want to give one last shout out to Andy Reid and that mustache. The ice.
Oh my
stash.
God. That's not it. First off, that's not ice. That's snot. It was the center of his nose that was all frozen. That's a snot stash.
Yes, but it's still iced over.
It's a snotsicle.
Yes, it's snotsicles.
It's a snotsicle. Like that was disgusting. Like I was like, stop putting this on the goddamn TV. You can see the yellow tint to it. Like it's gross.
That was his mustache.
No, it was not his mustache. That was the snotsicle.
He's got that gingerly hair.
The snotsicle. Ugh. Gross, disgusting. Oh my God. I want to go. Bleh. It's like I was eating durian again. Oh, it's horrendous. All righty. Ooh, I got the good game to go over. The Packers at the Cowboys in a game that Rob and I are very glad to not have picked the winner correctly on.
Well, I picked the spread.
We all did.
Damn it.
Either that or I picked the over under, and that's what you got wrong. One of the either way. The Packers won 48-32. And with 10 minutes to go in the game, guys, it was even worse at 48-16. But 2 meaningless touchdowns from Dak to Jake Ferguson, their tight end, made the game just look closer than it ever really was, guys. This was a blowout. This was destroyed. This was like they were putting backups in at one point. Now, after the 2 touchdowns, they put the backups back out again just to preserve the win. But yeah, guys, this was absolute domination from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like not a single second did you go, who's going to win this game, basically start to finish. Like the Packers were clearly the better team this day. And we talked about this. The Packers are one of those teams that when they're hot. And they've been playing well lately. They were hot on Saturday. And we talked about the Cowboys were kind of frauds based on their, who they played and how their record was at that point. I didn't think this was the week they'd be exposed, but this was the week they were exposed. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see now what happens over in Big D because there's some changes coming. I have a feeling still. I really do, and I got to be honest. If I am the Cowboys, and I'm glad I'm not, if I was, I would be doing a full rebuild, guys. I'm
Jerry
sorry,
Jones already came out saying this is the worst loss that he's experienced, which it's definitely not. There's definitely been some other heartbreakers for him. But it's a fun little fact to know that the Packers have more wins at AT&T Stadium in the playoffs than the Cowboys do.
Yeah.
Packers now have 3 in that stadium compared to the Cowboys 2.
Now, here's another interesting one for you. So this is the first team ever to go back to back to back, 12 wins or more, and not at least make it to the NFC Championship game once.
Yep.
That's, like I said, you got You got a big decision coming with Dak Prescott. We've talked about this before, where his contract just makes his cap number ridiculous. Absolutely goddamn ridiculous next offseason here. So they're going to have to either extend him or get rid of him. And I'm sorry, but if I am the Cowboys, like I said, I'd be tired of winning like they're winning just to lose in the postseason. And I would say, you know what? It's time. It's just time.
Longest
and if you do a post-June 1st cut, if you do a post-June 1st cut on Dak Prescott, you save $34 million on the cap this year. That's a good amount of money, guys. Now, what you could do at that point then is go out and get a veteran quarterback, whether it be Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, draft one, and have a three-way race between Trey Lance and those two guys. And just try to get someone new because, listen, Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick, guys. It's not like you have to go ahead and get a 1st-round pick if you can draft right and you see something special to go ahead and make a move. But I'm sorry, he's just not the answer. If I was a Cowboy fan, I'd be fed up and I'd say, you know what, I've seen enough. And as a Giants fan, I have not seen enough. Keep on losing. Keep Dak Prescott. And that Mike McCarthy, Coach of the Year. Keep that Mike McCarthy going.
That guy too.
Oh yeah, I you know what? Those 2 bonus bullshit tight ends they did at the end of the game. Those two touchdowns just show me they have a lot of heart. They didn't give up fighting, guys. Keep them going.
Well, talk about 2 tight ends. That's what made the Packers win this game. I don't know if you noticed, but they had the highest. Dan Quinn had no defensive plan to stop the Packers offense. I think it was 47% of the snaps. They had 2 tight ends in there, and they had no answer for that. That defense looked lost. They scored 3 touchdowns based off of 2 tight end setups. So whether it be the one from Aaron Jones, whether it be the 2 from the receiving core, but they just dominate that field. And now, I mean, it was also prior, but the Cowboys have the longest drought without making it to a conference game with getting into the playoffs in NFL history.
Yeah.
Well, in active. I don't know if in history, but active.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It really is. And like I said, to me, I would do a full rebuild because the other part of this that people aren't talking about.
We talked about that at the beginning of the year, too.
Dan Quinn, their defensive coordinator, they've given a lot of the hype and a lot of the the support of why this team is so good on his shoulders. Well, he's been looked at by 4 different teams, guys, for a head coaching position. He might not be there this year. So, like I said, to me, I would fire McCarthy. I'd promote Dan Quinn. I would cut Dak Prescott, and I would go ahead and completely rebuild. I'd get rid of anybody that's like over the age of 30, basically. And I would completely rebuild. And maybe I'm crazy and maybe I'm overstating, and maybe it's a good thing that, for Cowboys fans that I don't have a say in it. But to me, like I said, I'd be tired of losing year in, year out and say, you know what, something's got to give because I keep adding talent and I keep having the same problem. But the consistent thing you've had the last couple of years is your coach and your quarterback, guys. Some people just aren't winners, and I hate to say it that way. Like, listen, take out the whole Cowboy Giant hate for a minute there, because let's be honest, we hate the Cowboys. We do. What Dak Prescott has done in his career as a 4th-round pick is amazing. Let's just be very frank about that. MVP caliber numbers this year in the regular season.
He was in talks of it.
Has been a starter for multiple years at the, one of the biggest job in all of sports, being the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. Consistently has them winning again in the regular season. Most 4th-round quarterbacks never have the kind of career he's got. Now, on top of that, he's set for life. His last contract was $159 million. He's collected about, half of that so far. And $36 million of that he hasn't collected are just void years to add bonuses on to extra years. So, yeah, he's set for life, generational wealth-wise. it's just done, guys. It's done. It's over. It's time to move on. Because your other option is he's 30 years old. You want to give him another thing and be stuck with him for 3 or 4 years? You basically at that point are saying I'm riding with Dak my entire career. Again, Cowboys, do it. Do it.
He'll be a Bronco in no time.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Like I said, I honestly I would swap him and Russell Wilson in a heartbeat. Russell Wilson is not as good a quarterback as him at all, but you know what Russell Wilson has a history of doing? Winning. So, oh my God, guys, real quick, 'cause we're talking here and we're missing stuff. Trey Palmer just had a 56-yard touchdown. Right before that, and I was going to talk about it the next time we broke here. There was a safety as well. Bucks are now up 24-9 with 1 minute to go in the third quarter, guys. This is getting to where it's out of chance for them to even come back. So, all right, we got one more game here real quick to go over. 2 more games to go over real quick.
I was going to say, we got a couple more games to go over. I mean, we'll kind of go over the last one of the week, but we got last night you had the Rams go into Detroit to play the Lions. The first time the Lions have seen a playoff game in 30 years? It's
in Detroit.
That's great. Yes, in Detroit. It's been amazing. What a crazy story, because you had Goff getting trade for Stafford getting trade for Goff. And it's the first time I think in NFL history this trade went around and went down, and now those two teams that made that trade are playing each other. And Matt Stafford, who never won a playoff game at home, had to go into Detroit to see if he could beat his old team. Well, the Lions win 24-23 in what was probably the most exciting game of the weekend. Yeah. Probably the best game of the wild card weekend. I'm just going to go out and say it. I was excited for this game beforehand, but in the end, the Lions just made the Rams settle for several field goals and it made the difference. But the big difference, I really think, probably is the cushion. Vay played very conservative football going for it, as you had Dan Campbell just being more of a go-getter with different plays. And yeah, McVay, granted, it was a great game. It was back and forth.
It was. You know what the biggest question I had coming out of this game was? Who is Eminem's plastic surgeon? Because goddamn, that man looks the same as he did when he was first originally.
He was a Slim Shady.
Like that man is in his 50s now. You realize?
I was about to say he's definitely
He's in his 50s.
He's like mid-50s, close to, I think.
No, he's like 51. I looked it up actually last night. Okay. This is how much I was thinking about this. 51.
You gotta think 8 Mile came out 2002,
2003, something like that. Yeah, about that. But here's what I'm getting at is he looks the same almost. I mean, he looks a little paler, a little bit there, that's why I think definitely plastic surgery. Whoever his plastic surgeon is, kudos, because seriously, he looks younger than I do. Like I'm in my 40s. Like this is the plastic surgeon face. I'm telling you right now, that man's had surgery like you would not believe. I'll guarantee you that. I'd put money on it that he's had plastic surgery, like you would not believe. Probably has a scar. That's why he has the beard now. I shouldn't say that. That's why I have a beard. Hide the scars and the plastic surgery.
Doing a little face tuck.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I know you and I both thought the Rams would pull it out in the end. They came close and probably should have, to be very frank. This is a game that the Rams lost a lot more than the Lions won, potentially, you could say, because of the fact that the Rams got stopped so many times getting actual touchdowns. But in the end, listen, it was great for Detroit, guys. Listen, we talked about this before. There are certain teams that I have a lot of respect for their fans, because they put up with so much shit over the years. I mean, hell, they were showing a guy who's been like a season ticket holder for 60 years. And it's like he was there at the last time they won a playoff game. And it's like, what the hell? Like, oh my God. Like this is, that's legit fandom, guys. That's a legit fandom. So, glad for the people of Detroit. Glad the way it worked out overall for these guys. Again, the Cowboys lost. So I'm trying to think who they get. They get the winner.
Rams probably this game against Bucks.
Winner of this game. Yes, they're gonna get the Bucks. They're gonna beat the Bucks. The Lions will go to the NFC Championship game, guys.
And I don't think the Packers are going to beat the Niners. So it's going to probably be the Lions and the Niners.
That's a nice matchup. I don't mind that matchup at all, guys. No. I don't mind that matchup at all. And you know what? The one thing I love more than anything else is Jared Goff going fuck you to Sean McVay. He didn't say it with his voice, but he said it with his eyes.
And he said it with his eyes. Touchdown pass.
Like, you know what? Like, you got rid of me.
Jared Goff, he played his ass off. I mean, so did Stafford. But both of them did. He stepped up. He really stepped up this last night, and he played some goddamn good football.
They both did. Yeah, they definitely did. So, all right, we had the earlier game today, the Snowmageddon game. It's supposed to be yesterday's game. It had to be moved to 4:00 today. The Steelers at the Bills because snow. I saw a TikTok video somebody put up of some Steeler fans trying to get to their seats, and their section wasn't even plowed. And they were literally it was up to their waist in snow. They're trying to push through to get to their seats. And I'm like, oh my God, at this point, just go home.
That's hysterical.
I'd be a heated blanket with a battery pack just to dry off my seat.
One of my customers, the GM of one of the restaurants that, he's a kind of mine. He took off this weekend, and he's from outside of Buffalo, and he was supposed to go off for that game. Then once he found out how much snow they were getting, he's like, F that.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it. Not gonna do it. Yeah. So anyway, game ended up 31-17 for the Bills, as we expected. We did not, no one thought that the Steelers had a chance at hell of this whole game here. Basically just start to finish, never had a chance to Steelers. So call it what it is. Steelers, it was a blowout.
The Steelers this whole season was a house of cards. The thing that got them through, the season was their coaching staff. But if there were any more house of cardy, if you will, I just made that into an adjective. But if there are any more of house of cards, Kevin Spacey would be under center for them.
He got canceled.
So did the show, and so did the Steelers out of the
playoffs. Yeah, but yeah. All righty, guys. Last update here, real quick, on the Eagles and the Bucks. This game should be done. Obviously, those of you who are listening later on, you'll already probably know. But right now, it's 25-9 at the end of the third quarter. I find it hard to believe that the Bucks would go ahead and somehow score. I had the Eagles somehow score 16 points in one quarter when they've managed 9 points in 3. Never know. So keep tracking, keep going, and keep rooting for them Bucks there because, listen, how about next season with these Giants guys? We got a young quarterback. You see what happens when you turn around with a young quarterback. Look at Houston sometimes. Again, look at Carolina. It can go either way. But we have the right option, the better option of the two. You go ahead and build some of this team, get everybody healthy again, fix the line. Look at Eagles are shit all of a sudden. Dallas may have to completely rebuild. If not, they're basically, Dallas where they good in the regular season, suck in the postseason. This is one of those things that the Giants could come back next year, guys, and win this division. They really could. This is not crazy to say that right now with what's going on. So, keep rooting. Let's keep an eye on what goes on this offseason. We'll be back for you guys here on Wednesday. We're going to go over a section on guys that are going to be free agents that the Giants may want. We're also in talks, and I'm not sure what day it's going to be yet. We're in talks maybe Wednesday, maybe in Thursday, with a formal, and maybe tuxedo, I don't know, a former New York Giant, a member of our 2011 championship team here, guys. So love always the chance to get former players to come on. But yeah, he's suggesting Wednesday or Thursday he might be available to pop on to give you guys some inside knowledge on that team and on what it was like playing for the Giants as a whole. So we got that coming for you guys hopefully this week as well. So best thing to do, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe. That's the best way to find out when new shows start coming out there, because that'll be a fun one. I'm looking forward to that one there. I want to hear some stories of that 2011 team, because that was interesting team. Both the Eli Manning Super Bowls were interesting teams there, but that one especially, it's like you said the whole time, like, is this going to happen again? Is that we're going to do this a second time?
Yeah.
Like, and we did, obviously. So, plus we beat the Niners in a weird game with a whole bunch of fumbles and the punts and stuff like that on their end and stuff like that. It's like I said, it's a game that I really want to I want to hear some of the thoughts on that team overall. So looking forward to that very much. Again, hopefully Wednesday or Thursday we're going to have that. We're still in talks to try to zero that in a little better for you guys there. So again, hit the like, hit the subscribe, ring that bell on YouTube, and then you'll find out all these new episodes as they come out there. So appreciate you guys listening in. As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite,
Drew's LinkedIn page.
Drew's LinkedIn. Oh, yes. I don't know why I'm talking in third person, but I am. And of course, as always, we are available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms as well. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google, Amazon, all the biggies there, whichever one you're on, we're probably on it. So whatever platform or platforms you use, do me a favor, hit a like on all of them. Hit a subscribe on all of them. Helps us a lot there. If you want to keep multiple devices up watching our programs at once, we won't complain either at that point there. So we won't tell if you don't tell. All right, guys, we appreciate you guys as always listening in. And as always, Giant fans,
go G-Man! Go G-Man!
And for tonight, go Bucks, I guess.
Yeah, go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?
Thank you to those who have signed up for our silver gold levels of membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.